Massimo MSU 500. It's also the Hisun. It's also the Coleman. Sold by Tractor Supply, sold by Farm King. It's basically the same machine. This video is going to be the pros and cons of this Chinese side-by-side UTV. Of course, the favorite pro is the price. You're not going to beat the price. They advertise sometimes for $79.99, sometimes $72.99. I got mine for $7,000, and in my experience of talking to other owners, you can usually get them for about $7,000. And Tractor Supply, even though you don't expect them to be able to negotiate a little bit, in my experience, they're able to negotiate a little bit with that price. So, price, that's going to be the number one. Pro. Number two is it's exceptionally built. I mean, for the price and for what I expected, it's exceptionally well built. You've got four-wheel disc brakes. It stops really, really nice. We haven't had any problem out of the brakes, and we're power users. Where we live is deep in the West Virginia mountains, and we use this thing. Free features. Guess we'll call this Pro Features. It comes with the top. That's a $350 option on most side-by-sides. It comes with the windshield. There's you another $300 option on most side-by-sides. It comes with the winch. Now the winch varies by, you know, who you get it through. But this EP and EWP 3500 electric winch, man, it has saved our bacon a few times. It also comes with the nicer rims, the aluminum rims. They're not going to rust, and I see that as a problem on a lot of the older rhinos. You can see that we use our rhino, our Massimo, I mean. So you've got, you know, it's liquid cooled. It's got the good shocks on it. It's got some heavy duty suspension. You just can't ask for a lot more. The cons. The biggest con for me on the MSU 500 is power. It doesn't have power. It's underpowered. And what that ends up having us do occasionally is when we come to a very steep incline, and I mean very steep. I don't mean your average incline that you're going to run into. Very steep. One of us has to get off. And she's a lot lighter than me, so I let her stay on, and she's a lady. So she stays on, and she takes it by herself and usually gets up it. Now there's the occasional incline that is so steep that we have to use the winch, and we winch ourselves out. We had to do that last week. Now, with that said, we're talking very, very steep incline. You know, I mean, super steep. Now, for a short period, I would say 30, 40 feet, about any incline is fine. Just about, you know, straight up and down. But once you get in this long, ongoing incline, it loses its oomph. And that's the 500. And that's one we'll say, if I would probably plunk down the extra $1,000 and got the MSU 700 if I had to do it again. So that's probably my biggest con, is the power. Now the Stigma is another one. Now, even though it has this big sticker on it when it comes, it has a big United States flag on it, and they have operations in Texas. This is a Chinese-made side-by-side. They do some of the putting together in Texas, sure. But this thing is made in China. So your resale value and your stigma that goes along with it is going to be affected. So you're going to get less money out of it if you sell it, but of course you paid less money to buy it. So, you know, I guess it all evens out. But we're going to call this con stigma. Engine noise. All right. So right here, underneath this shroud, right there is your air intake, and right here is your engine between your two seats. So what you end up with is, when you're going fast, or when you're really giving the gas to it, the engine is pretty loud. it's pretty darn loud. So just idling, the engine is not very bad. The engine is really reasonable. You can talk over it and everything's okay. But once you start really giving the gas, it's a little too loud. You can't talk. It drowns everything out. I'd like to see some soundproofing, some kind of sound deadening going on to control that engine noise. Okay, struggling for a name for this con. Now, something I learned is that the top is put on by Tractor Supply, by the store when you get it. It comes in a crate, and it comes without the roll cage and the top and the windshield, and certain things are not put on it yet. So they put it on. Now, when they put it on this particular one, they had left out a bolt. It also left off the Massimo steering cover thing. So I went back to the store and I requested those parts, and they took them off of the one that was on display. When they took them off the one that was on display, I assumed that they were going to order some more and put back on it. Well, I saw the lady who bought the one that was on display and noticed that she was missing those parts. Of course, I told her so she can go back and get her parts off the next guys, I guess. But, you know, I don't really like that it's not the factory guy who put it together, because there were a few hiccups at first, and you can watch my first video to see the hiccups that I'm talking about. There were a few hiccups, and they were just mainly just because somebody put some plastic on there a little wrong, and I had to redo it. So, and I had to adjust the door, you know, things like that. That I don't think, if it came from a factory that does it all day long, I don't think those minor problems would have happened. So one of the things I expected when I got this Massimo, you know, I'm buying it at a box store, I'm buying it at Tractor Supply, and it's, you know it's made by Hisun. I know that Farm King basically sells the same thing with a different name on it. Also know that the Coleman brand and a lot of these other brands are making them in the same factory, and they're the same thing. I didn't expect what I got. I expected a little less. But, you know, I was looking at $15,000, trying to go with a T-Rex or Terex or whatever from Kawasaki. And I thought that I'd give this guy a shot. I didn't think we'd use it as much as we have. And we have really, really, really rode it. So, all in all, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. You know, I'm going to say purchase, definitely. I'd buy it again. So, it would be my choice again.